live our first show, at all times. You know, and we're gonna continue moving forward. And like I said, we appreciate you. We met you. You know, a little bit about you and how we met, right?
Mm-hmm.
We definitely met on our first show, the BCW Dawn of a New Era.
Yep.
Fully recommended by our coach Eric Rosa.
Yep.
He said you're a great guy, and he would love to have you on our show. And that's when I first met you there. And you are a great guy, you know. And I'm happy that you were able to participate with us. I'm happy to know you, you know, for that first time we got to know you, and I'm proud, you know. I'm happy to say that I've met a good man, you know. I've met an awesome, hard worker, ethical worker, and we appreciate you being on our debut as a BCW promotion as well.
Well, thank you, man.
You know, and we appreciate you. I mean, from BCW, like Bill from BCW, we appreciate you at all times. You know what I mean? And we appreciate you. You know, I'm trying to get the other cameras set so I can see myself, but it's falling all over the place.
It's all good, man. But, you know, I thank you guys for that, you know. Appreciate being part of the first show, being the inaugural talents, you know, one of them for BCW. Shout out to Coach Rosa as well, man. You know, appreciate the kind words on his part as well. And we'll love to see him again soon and participate on the very next show as well. But yeah, man, it's been great. I'm very grateful to be a part of that, man.
We're great for you to be with us as well. Like you stated, this is our first show, our first podcast as well. You've been there from the beginning, haven't you?
Yeah, man.
With the debut, and now you're debuting with the podcast, Kicking It Live.
Since day one, baby.
Since day one. I mean, we're glad to have you, and we consider you part of our family.
Thank you, man.
And we consider you part of the family, and I think it's great, you know, to have such a great talent along with yourself to be with us from the beginning, and we're looking to we're looking to do big things with us, you know, and we're looking to see great things from you as well.
Hey, man, I'm looking forward to it. And, man, I'm looking forward to give my hardest work to BCW and, you know, give the best of my talents, the best that I could possibly do, give the best of my fights, my best of wrestling that I could give to the company, to the fans, you know, have everybody tune in, have everybody interested, not only me, but along with the rest of the roster, you know, and management. I'm just ready for all this, man.
We're ready. You know, like I said to you, that was the first time I was able to see you, and I saw you wrestle as well. And I know that you had for our first show, you had quite a debut with us, and you had 2 matches, right? You fought Jiggy. Yeah. You had a hard fight with Jiggy.
Yeah, man.
You also took care of. You also participated in a Rumble, a battle royale.
Yeah.
But how was it for you for that debut? I mean, like, how was it for you to wrestle for BCW? How was that debut for you? How did it feel coming beyond that curtain?
I mean, it felt good. Don't get me wrong. A little different environment, you know, a little bigger area, a little different, you know, type of theme that was to it. You know, I really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed the match, you know, hard work, hard fight with Jiggy. I think he hurt himself and he still wasn't trying to give up, man, you know, and made the best man win. He still ended up on top, you know. It was a great debut. I would definitely repeat it all over again. It was, how can I say, I felt like, since it was like the first show, I felt like I was a part of something new. I felt like I was in a new era, kind of, you know, like kind of like how the Ruthless Aggression era came about. I felt like, you know, that was the kind of something I was entering to, because it was dawn of the new era. So and it was the first ever show. So going through those curtains and wrestling Jiggy and being a part of the Rumble and having an opportunity to even participate in the world title match in the tournament, it was a whole different vibe, man. It was great. I definitely was looking forward for the upcoming shows after that too, you know, but it is what it is, and it was just a great encounter, man. I really enjoyed it. It was different.
No, we appreciate it. You know, we appreciate everything you did for us in those 2 battles that you had. You know, and I mean, that first fight was hectic. You know, it was chaotic. And Jiggy pushed himself along with it. I mean, you did too. And being that you were in both the battles, and I know that being in the battle royale, you must have gotten exhausted. You must have felt exhausted at one
Oh
point.
yeah, man. Don't get me wrong. You know, it's never easy being in the ring. Like, don't get me wrong. It's fun. I love what I do, but it's not easy. And I got encountered with the Cure, Lucas Chase, towards the end of the Rumble, and that isn't no easy task either. Just getting done wrestling Jiggy and having like a 12, 15 minute bout with Jiggy just to enter the Rumble and having to go face to face with Lucas Chase. That's another hard, heavy hitter, 200 plus pounds type guy right there. And we had to go head up. He ended up being the better man too that night. But yeah, man, I was exhausted, man. It was a battle, but it was a hard pain feeling that you're proud of. I don't know if you kind of understand, but it's like kind of when you get your first paycheck at work. Yeah, you busted your butt, but you're proud of that because you can see your money, you see your check, you're able to pay your bills. That pain feels good.
Yeah, man, I definitely, hold on for a sec. I'm just. Can you hear
Yeah.
yourself? You have your
Yep.
headphones
Yep.
though, right? Okay, nah, man, it was. I mean, it was a great show. I mean, and in my point of view, it was a great show. And I know behind the curtains, I mean, I saw that a lot of you knew each other, and a lot of you didn't know each other. But at the same time, we saw that camaraderie between all the wrestlers. We saw that build that relationship between each other. I know we're supposed to be keeping it pro K and pro face and heel, but as running the show from the different perspective, I saw the relationship building. I saw the friendships building. I don't know how you felt backstage, but I saw that, and I know from my point, it was a smooth show, and I appreciate it all. And sorry if you heard
Nah,
that.
you're okay, man. Don't worry about that. But yeah, the backstage vibe, man, that was great, man. You guys were great people. Everyone backstage was great. Even the bad guys, even when they were sitting there, you know, doing their stuff, and it was in a way where like, all right, brother, we'll see you in the ring. It's still all love back here. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? But it was all love, all good vibes, friendships all around. Management was great. Higher ups were great. Talent was great. All Everything, all the above. It was just a great day. That's why I'm looking forward for the next event. I'm very looking forward to it. Can't wait.
So tell me about yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. How you got involved in the wrestling business? How was it always your passion? How did you get involved?
Well, if that's a backtrack. That's all the way back till I was 5 years old, man. Just wrestling has
Okay.
always been in my home. Athletics in general has always been in my blood. Came from the background of sports. The main sports that used to be seen in my house was pro wrestling and baseball. We had boxing as well, mixed martial arts, all that stuff. That's what I grew up watching from the age of 5 years old. But what really took my eye out the most was pro wrestling. And my uncles and my grandfather, mainly my grandfather, was the one that used to watch all of the Attitude Eras and the Golden Era matches, and I used to sit down and watch it. And it wasn't until I got my first wrestling belt, my first toy wrestling belt, when I was about 6, 7 years old. I finally got one, and ever since then, that was what I always wanted to make sure I achieved in my life one day, whether it was in MMA, whether it was in boxing, whether it was in pro wrestling. But that right there was what caught my attention, and the way they moved in there, the way they told the stories, and the way it was just how it was on TV and all that stuff brought my attention as a kid, gave me that love and passion to want to develop that skill and talent to be able to tell a story. And I was never able to find school, so I basically stopped, watching wrestling or doing any of that stuff. And it wasn't until I met Paul Roma that I ended up getting that thrive back because I ended up struggling and doing some stuff in the streets that I don't recommend anyone to do. Struggles and bullcrap that I don't wish upon anyone. So I met Paul Roma, and he gave me that passion back. And stepping foot in the ring and being able to impress and gain love from the fans and people gave me that love and passion. So yeah, long story short, sitting down as a kid with my grandfather watching wrestling and seeing the look in his face when he used to be excited watching it, that's what gave me the love and passion as well to be able to like do this and put that same exact smile on his face that all them other pro wrestlers have done. You know, all of his favorites, you know, that he grew up watching, that he grew up with me watching, you know, that he raised me watching and all that stuff. And then my uncle, he's special needs. So every time he saw wrestling toys and all of that stuff, he would get so excited. Every time he saw Paul Baird and the Undertaker, he was so excited. That also gave me a thrive in my heart to be like, all right, I want to be an action figure one day that I can give to my uncle. That my uncle can be like, hey, you know, I once had these when you were a baby, and now I have one of you when you're a grown man. You know, you actually did it, and those are my motivations. That's the passion that came into me to do what I do now.
So what match was it that really got you? That really got you at that age?
The match that well, when I first saw it, it was Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior when they fought at
Nice.
SummerSlam, but I really didn't know much about it. So I saw his face paint on the Warrior, and I always been a fan of like superheroes and stuff like that. So he seemed like this type of superhero that paints his face like a warrior type of superhero that paints his face like a mythical god, like a Thor, you know, but just with a face paint on. And that right there caught my attention with my very first match that I really liked. But I'm not really too big of a fan of I don't know how to really explain this. I'm not too big of a fan of Hogan like that. It was the Warrior that caught my attention. And then after that, I didn't get to see another match until the Hardys. So when it was Jeff Hardy and Edge and Christian at the TLC matches, after when I saw Jeff do that Swanton, that was it. You know, that was it.
Right there,
That was
huh?
it right there. You know, it doesn't matter how he did it, where he did it, how it came from. But when he did the Swanton, whether it was top ropes from the inside to the outside, top of the ladder, top of the stage, that right there was like, oh yeah. And then when he came out with the face paint, was that was it, you know, because it reminded me of the Warrior. It reminded me of Sting. All those people that my uncle was watching, and yeah, those were the two matches that really made me go, wow, you know, like damn. And then I really want to do this. And then in 2009, to the CM Punk and Jeff Hardy feud, felt so realistic. It was so real. Like I literally felt that storyline. That was the storyline that officially told me, all right, this is what I want to do. You know, because I really was able to relate with Hardy because my family, we come through that part of the struggles, and you know how addiction and all those things, you know, we come from that side of town. So when I saw that feud as well, that was the third feud that caught my attention, and this happens to be my favorite. So that right there was the feud that said I want to tell a story like that one day, and I will do it. That's one of my favorite matches of all time.
But that was a great match, though. I remember it. You know, I remember it, and it was an awesome match. It was a great match, and that's when it started to become a little bit more hardcore-ish in a sense with the TLC and the chairs and the tables and the ladders. But it was a great match. I remember it. I remember it too. But now that you mentioned you growing up and how wrestling to a degree has impacted you in a sense, and being in the streets, and you know, we all tend to have a bad point in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where we always get that influence in other people, and who do you look up to at that point, at like as in wrestling, or you mentioned superheroes and whatnot. So who else do you consider like a superhero towards you in this industry?
In the wrestling industry, to be honest,
Yes.
the main person that I really can see changed a lot and stuff in this pro wrestling world, that's like one of my favorite, that's like the top hero to me, has been, I gotta say it, Kurt Angle. He's one of those that is like a superhero to me because, you know, the dude won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. You know what I mean? Like, who do you, what superhero, what person you know that can do that? All I know is superheroes that get thrown off of that, break their necks, and then get back up and beat the villain. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, I see him as one of those superheroes, you know, the American hero. Like, he's the one that stepped in and kind of like made it open for and made it a sport. You can basically say, you know what I mean? Because he came from the Olympic side. Once he came in, is like they made it seem like it became to me it became a sport after that. Now it's like, all right, let's do this. Like now we got the athletics in. He's the American hero. He won it with a broken neck, and then what they're saying now about Cody Rhodes that he Kurt Angle won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck, and then Cody Rhodes beat Seth Rollins with a broken freaking pec. You know, like those are the superheroes of this industry to me, and right there, like those are the Titans, man. You know, top dogs. Cena too. Don't get me wrong. Cena did. He became that rapper guy turned superhero. You know, became this big old like a Hulk. You know, don't get him angry because he's gonna just bulk up and lift like 3 people at the same time. You know, like that's superhero status
Sure.
stuff right there. So yeah, those are like the main 3 big heroes I can say. Kind of gave me an influence as well. If you want to go crazy, then we'll say the Hardys. You know, Jeff Hardy, Edge and Christian. If you want to talk crazy, then yeah, those were. There we go. Those are the ones.
So who influences you now as your character, as your gimmick? Because we know you by Sunset Steve. Who who's been your major? I know you mentioned Kurt Angle, the Hardys, and all these other people that you find influential. But right now, in your like in this state or in this point of life, your character, as in Sunset Steve, who has been your major? Like, who's been the most
You know,
influence?
speaking of influences, yes, you know, we're speaking in the past of the influences, which when I mentioned Kurt Angle, the Hardys, and all that stuff, CM Punk, that's all, you know, in the past. We want to talk about modern day and like today's era right now. I usually don't try to like, basically, let me say, every single wrestler in the industry, no matter what, you walk through those ropes, you step foot in that ring, you lay your life down on the line, that's an influence on its own. You know, that right
Sure.
there, every single wrestler, every single person that walked through there is an influence. You know, like, but there's someone that I want to look up to character wise that's doing good, man. It's God mode, bro. You know, Roman Reigns right now is on a level that is like, God, man, like, why he thought of it, you know, like, nobody, that's what he had in his mind for so long, kind of makes you feel like, why I didn't think of that? Why this guy didn't think of that? You know, why that other guy didn't think of that? Is that influence right there that makes me that Roman Reigns today is the one that I kind of really look up to a lot the most. You know, Roman Reigns. You want to get into the tag team thing, the Usos are really look up to as well, and the influence that they're bringing into the table. So in this era, yeah, man, that's the person you got to look up to right now, man.
You're Hispanic,
Yes.
right? From Puerto Rican
Yep.
descent, or you're actually from the island?
From Sabana Grande, Puerto Rico. I touched foot over here in Connecticut at the age of 5 years old.
But okay, that's awesome, and you know that wrestling is big as well in Puerto
Yeah,
Rico.
man.
I just you spoke about your grandfather looking or watching those shows and watching this Puerto Rican or the wrestling. It reminds me of those wrestlers and back in the day of that. I guess of that time. I'm assuming from your grandmother or your grandfather, we're talking about like the 80s,
Yeah.
right? Late 80s.
Yeah, like my grandfather, he used to watch the WWC, you know, the World Wrestling Council and IWA and all those places. But at that time, I wasn't born. So I don't really remember when I was 3, 4 years old like that. So when we touched foot in Connecticut, he still kept watching wrestling, but we didn't have those channels over here. We couldn't really watch WWC or IWA on regular TV here. Something you have to like look up or have like a special cable box to get through. Sometimes we got lucky if you could, and it, like maybe they'll air like an hour on Telemundo or something, or Univision or a specific Spanish channel. You know, if you had Direct TV or something, there's sometimes we'll air it. But yeah, he mainly had us over here watching WWE, ECW, TNA. You know, as we were growing up. So we never really had the chance to watch all those other promotions because we didn't have those channels. But by God, best to believe he would have watched every single bit of wrestling, man. He watched every bit of wrestling. And that's probably, I think, by far
He,
something that I think I look up to too, because he watched all forms of wrestling, and I think that's why I like to perform all forms of wrestling. You know?
I think it was something that as a, I guess, a Puerto Rican family or Hispanic family, we all kind of grew up with that.
It's not.
You know, even my father and my grandfather, you know, they absolutely loved wrestling, and actually, you probably didn't know that, but my dad was actually at that show
Oh,
at BCW. Donovan,
wow.
yeah, he
That's
was
good. That's
there,
good.
and he loved it. He loved it, and he actually he liked your character a lot. And after we left, after we were done, everything that we were doing, he spoke about you for a week straight.
Well, tell him I said thank you. Shout out to your pops. You
I'll
know,
let
it's
him
either
know.
pro wrestling or
That's,
baseball. That's the two loves we endure the most, man. Boxing too.
he remembered you by your. He remembered you by your clothing,
My
your
gear,
costume.
yeah, I got to represent. I got the
Yeah, your
coquille,
gear.
already on there. I got my Taino sun,
Yeah.
represents the sunset in Taino language. So.
But he did. He remembered you for like a week straight. He kept talking about you. How you did your thing.
Well, I appreciate it.
And he wants to see he wants to see you again. He said whenever for the next show he wants to go. He wants to actually personally speak with you and talk to you and just to have that, I guess, that one-on-one with you in that conversation.
Hey man, I'm down. Shout out to your pops, man. Tell him I said thank you.
I appreciate that, man. Cool, and we were talking about like dream matches. We've seen like the Ultimate Warrior versus the Hulk Hogan, the Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker, the Lex Lugers, the Kurt Angles. Who would be your dream? Like, I know it's kind of out there, but if you ever had a dream match, who would you go against?
Like me as my opponent?
As your opponent.
Oh man, there's so many of them, man. There's so many, but somebody I would definitely love to step foot in the ring with. It definitely has to be Seth Rollins. I feel that's gonna be one match that if I know it's a fantasy, you know what I mean, but you never know. It can happen. But
you never know.
That would be a dream match of mine, probably stepping foot in the ring with Seth and tearing the house down. Because there's so much I can probably learn from him. So much I can take, some, like not in a bad way, but so much that I can learn. So much that I can, get from his learning tree. Probably kick my ass, but at the end of the day, that's a dream match of mine that I would love to step foot in with, and hopefully it will happen. Not only him, but I would definitely love to step foot in the ring with Gargano. Johnny Gargano has been someone that I watch a lot, and I would love to wrestle him one day. And enough of guys in WWE, but besides a guy in WWE, if there's someone that I want to step foot in the ring outside of WWE, I would definitely love to have a one-on-one with Eddie Kingston. If I could one day get a match with Eddie Kingston, because I feel like I could relate with him a lot. He's Puerto Rican, I'm Puerto Rican. Like we can relate in a lot of ways. He struggled, I struggled, family struggled. And that's a story that we both can tell very well. And that's a dream match of mine that I've been wanting for a while, is actually wrestling Eddie Kingston. But I got to work my way up to that. I got to work my way up to that. And hopefully one day I'll be walking down the stage one-on-one with Eddie Kingston.
But I hope to see that. It'll be the first one to be cheering you on, man. That'll be great. That's awesome. When that happens, because we have to manifest it. That's how they say we have to manifest.
Yeah, man, just have to go forward, keep thriving.
Keep on grinding,
Sure.
man. But no, I don't know if you saw a post in regards to announcing that you were going to be on our podcast, on our show, and you didn't see the comment?
No.
There was a comment. Someone calling you a bozo.
I already know who you're talking about, man. Just by that, you talking about Norway.
And
Listen,
Noriega,
man.
man, he called you what a
Listen, man.
bozo.
Takes one to know one, right? Takes one to know one.
How was it? How was this feud happening going on with you? Because he's calling you a bozo on social media.
Oh, we go way back. Don't get me wrong. Like, we go way back. Childhood days, man. We go whew, back to when I landed
Way back.
here in Connecticut. You know, it's one of the first peoples that I met. You know, he struggled. I struggled. Like I said, you know, both our families were very similar, and yeah, we did wrestling when we was a kid. We watched it, built rings in my basement from beds and stuff. Um, then we grew up into with each other. We even shared the same room at times. You know, ate out of the same fridge. Once I got into some trouble, you know, I had to go away for some time, and after that, I guess you can say lost communication. You know, you can say. Came back to my wife, you know, got married, had my kids, changed my life around, you know, started training, became a pro wrestler, actually carried on with what I was doing as a kid, with what I loved, you know, my passion, with what I wanted to be. It wasn't until Greg Baylor that I had this whole thing with him. I don't know what vendetta he had against me. I guess he wanted to prove a point. I don't know what it was. I guess Greg Baylor did some research. He ended up doing his little research on me, I guess, and figured out that me and Fly Nine have some history. So he went out all the way to my territories just to hire Fly Nine Noriega unexpectedly from me. I had no idea. And it's just a coincidence that we meet again and we finally get this encounter after what, 10 years, 8 years that we haven't seen each other. You know, I think we were about maybe 15, 16, maybe 17 the last time we see. Yeah, 17, because that's when I had to go away for some time. 17 years old, that was the last time I seen him. And then fast forward last year, Greg Baylor goes to my territories, does the research, finds Noriega. I guess hires him. Noriega has this vendetta. He's been dying to see me. He couldn't find me. He finally gets to find me through Greg Baylor. Greg Baylor broke his ankle. He couldn't compete in the anytime any gauntlet. So he thought he was slick. He thought he was gonna be able to still manage a way to get me out of the gauntlet, you know, and any way possible for me not to compete in that match or try to get me off my game, you know, mind games. And that's when I met Noriega again. Came out through the curtains. We had this encounter. We fought right there in the ring, like right there in the middle of it. We just said, whatever, you know, you wasn't announced in the match, but if you want to fight, we can fight. He came in, got in the ring, we started fighting. Referee wrong, management just made him a part of the tournament. And following after that, he's just a snake, man. You know, we had a regular match. He wanted to prove that, you know, the history in the past, and he wanted to show that he's back. He wanted to show that he's here, and he wanted my attention again. So he requested a match at PAPW in an alley fights against me, and he happened to be dirty. Want to excuse my language. Want to freaking take out brass knuckles and attack me. He wants to take it personal. I understand we lost communication. Like I always try to tell him this. Like I understand we lost communication, but it's not my fault. You know, like I had no choice. Like I had to go. You know, and then coming back home, like all the only focus you're gonna think about is your wife and kids, man. You know, he's not trying to grasp that through his head. So all he wants to do is attack me. You know, it got to the point where he even broke into my house. I don't know if you've seen that. I don't know if you've seen it, but my camera footage at my home caught it. Broke into my house, assaulted me in front of my wife and kids. You know, he had the audacity to even take my sneakers. Like he has this vendetta. Like I understand. I keep trying to tell him. I try to apologize him over and over again. Like I don't know what else he wants me to do. He keeps on talking about this, talking about that. That I'm holding up back lies. That I'm not being truthful. I'm not being honest to the world. He just wants to expose me, but there's nothing to expose. You know, I keep trying to tell him there's nothing to expose. I keep telling him, you know, you want to come back into this. You want to come back into my life. You want to come back into the family. I have no problem. You know what I mean? I got no problem with you. Doors are always open. But yes, he wants to keep attacking me, man. He wants to keep doing this. And now it's finally all going to end because on September 16th, I stepped foot in the ring with him one-on-one again. and this is gonna end it all, because now he's pushing it, because now he's attacking me on social media. He's attacking me at home. He's literally trying to take the demon out of me. He's trying to take another side out of me. He's trying to get my dark side out. He's trying to expose the truth out of me. Trying to get that side of me that brought me into that bad times, that put me away for some time. He's trying to get that side out of me out. He's trying to expose me to the world and who I really am. And that's not who I am anymore. And that's why he's attacking me on social media, calling me bozo this, bozo that, sunset sissy this, sunset sissy that. You know, if he would have been a true friend, someone from the past that actually saw me growing up, he would have been congratulating me right now. He would have been saying, yo, I know we lost communications or whatever, but I'm proud of what you're doing. Not just come back and attack me. That's just some hater shit. You know, excuse my language again. That's just, to me, he's just hating out of love, you know, if that makes any sense. He's hating, and not hating because he wants to what I have or be what I have. He's hating because he loved my family. He's hating the fact that he still has love for me. He's hating the fact that he still has love for my family. And he just wants for us to show him that same one back, but he's not going to get it in this way. But what he is going to get is a whooping of his lifetime on September 16th, because he's going to get that dark side of me now. People are going to see another side of Sunset they've never seen before. And that's thanks to him. It's thanks to him. And I don't know if this sounds real to you right now, because I'm as real as it could possibly be. That's why it might not, some people are not going to understand what I'm saying right now. I hope you understand where it's getting from. But I blew this out of proportion. It was just a simple question that you asked me, but I just had to get this out of my chest, man. Like,
Definitely, you know, we have to get ready for September 16th,
yeah,
you said,
it's
right?
gonna
Where
be
is it
at
going to be
Empire
at?
Pro Wrestling. It's gonna be at 662 Co Ave. EPW noticed what we're going on. I guess this man, like literally Noriega, has just trying to find any way possible in any promotion he can possibly get to get his hands on me. So EPW,
But it hasn't been
no
just this
man, he's been
promotion.
coming at me in TCW. He's came at me in PAPW. He's coming at me now in Empire Pro. You know, like for example, I'm pretty sure he has something to do with the reason he cost me the tag titles at CPW August 19th. You know, before Mega Clash. I'm pretty sure he had a reason in that. You know, something had to give. There's no reason why Greg Baylor had to come out. You know, no reason for that. I ended that a long time ago. You know, Greg Baylor want to come out, distract me, get me out of my game. He gave Battle Academy the upper hands to pick my partner, you know, for the CPW tag titles. And that I'm not really too worried about that, but it still kind of bothers me a little bit, because I don't like that snake stuff. Like, I know there's something that had to do with both of them. So I'm gonna get to Greg Baylor on another day on that part. But I know him and Noriega have something to do with that. But yeah, they've been coming at me in just about every different promotion now. And Empire Pro Wrestling, I guess he contacted them or they contacted him. I don't know what's going on, but it's one-on-one, September 16th. And September 16th, everyone's going to know the truth. So,
Well, you know, you're going to see this video, so you might respond. So,
hey, like I said,
you heard it from here, from the debut, from
well,
Kicking
like I
It
said,
Live.
he can see it, he can hear it, he can believe it. That's one thing for sure. Because when you fed up, you get fed up, man. Like, when you get tired of it, that's it. And never pushed a good man to the edge. Never push a good person. Never push a good brother. You know, like, sometimes I haven't seen a brother for 10 years, and it's all love the minute we see each other. You know what I mean? There's no heat. We're grown men. We're adults. It ain't no more time for hangouts. It ain't no more time to be out and about. And that's what he was expecting on my return. You know, on me coming back into the world, into the streets, into here, into touching foot back into the ground. You know, he was expecting a hangout. He was expecting a call. He was expecting to us to chill and go to, you know, to clubs and bars and party and do all this stuff and go back into the streets, get that money, go hustle. Like, nah, man, that wasn't my mindset when I came home. I had to come home to my wife and kids, you know, like, and we're going to find out what his true intentions were on my return. But all he had to do was just say, yo, What's up? You forgot about me? You know, we would have talked it out. We would have just talked like brothers, you know, like friends, like childhood friends. That's it. But nah, he wants to blow it out of proportion, man. I don't know if he wants to make himself seem tough. You know, I don't know what it is, but yeah, man, he's taking it to another level.
So let's see what happens on September
Yeah, man.
16th. I will try to be there. I want to try to
Hey,
be
man,
there
tune in
myself.
because it's gonna be a fight. Like this is not just a wrestling match. This is gonna be a fight. Like
This is the
this
match to
is a
end it
match
all,
that's
huh?
going to end it all. Like we are going to beat each other down because I'm tired of it. This is what he wants. This is what he's gonna get. Like it's been months now of him bashing me on social media. As you notice, I don't pay him no mind. You know, I don't pay him no mind. I let him talk to himself on social media because, like, how did Meek say one time? What trigger fingers turn to Twitter fingers? You know what happened to this? Now you all this. What happened to this? Now you all this. What happened to that gangster stuff? You know what happened to that talk to him? What happened to that fly stuff? This ain't fly, man. That ain't fly. But hey,
Hmm.
it is what it is. Let him be. I do my talking in the ring now after this, you know?
Definitely, definitely. You mentioned, I know, I know it was kind of like a question out there because he put it himself on Facebook, the post. He called you a bozo, so I wanted you to know, in regards to that, so you could have a
Oh no,
little
well I appreciate
response.
you letting me know because I really had no idea. Like I honestly had no idea until you just mentioned it. So, you know, thank you for that. Appreciate it.
I had a problem, and I know that you mentioned your family, your wife, and your kids. How how is the support from your family? Do they love seeing you doing
Oh
what
yeah,
you
man.
love?
Like my daughter, she goes to everybody because she knows how to work a phone now, which I really don't like. But she knows how to work a phone now. She goes on YouTube and tells everybody. Goes to grandma, goes to aunts and uncles. This is my daddy. This is my daddy wrestling here. Goes to YouTube or to whatever
Mhm.
app that I'm on wrestling. She clicks on it and shows everybody. Goes to her teachers at school. Tells the teachers because that's my daddy named his son said. You know, it's great. My son, all he does is people in headlocks, you know, because he loves what I do. Every time
Mhm.
that's my dad, you know, they cheer, they watch all my matches, and they actually watch it, you know, they actually are watching it. It's not like just TV's on and they're playing, they're actually watching it. And my wife, she supports me all the way, man. She doesn't mind the times that I'm away. Like, she knows that my schedule and this wrestling business really takes a lot of time. So the little bit of time that she gets, she appreciates it, and she doesn't take it for granted. But yeah, she supports me with the things that I need to do. If the kids need to be watched or whatever, they need to be taken care of. She makes sure they got what they need while I'm away. Um, there's anything that they need, she lets me know. She keeps me intact. She makes sure that I'm in every show that I need to be on. She makes sure that I do the best that I need to do for my career. And she's one of my biggest supporters because honestly, if it wasn't for her, like I probably wouldn't be doing this right now too. She's one of the reasons why I want to make it in this career because I want to give her and my kids the best life, you know, the life they never thought they'll have. And if this is the way I have to do it, you know, on what I know how to do best, and I have to lay my life down on the line every single night in that ring, you know, for the fans and for my family to be able to have the life that they want, then so be it. You know, I'm gonna make sure of it. And she's my biggest supporter. She's the one that gave me that drive to make it happen. Because every time, even if she doesn't know about wrestling or what it is, she sits down and watches that match just because I'm in it. You know, just because I'm in it. She'll share a wrestling event, you know, just because her husband is doing it. And that's the support, you know, that you need. You know, that's the support that you need. Yeah, I understand, you know, everyone that's on there need that support. But, you know, she doesn't really know the business or who they are. She's just supporting her husband. And that right there is, you can't ask for anything better than that. You know, you can't. Like, she's a big part of my career, a huge part. Like, probably one of the biggest parts. Like, she's definitely the backbone.
That's awesome to hear. It's 'cause 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 it's ' even independent wrestlers or even big time wrestlers. I mean, they still have issues with family wise because they're always traveling. And it's good to know that at least you have some
Oh
support from
yeah,
your
man.
family. Because we've heard the stories of these big time wrestlers losing family because of their schedules and whatnot. And the most important part of a wrestler is to maintain that family because family comes first, anyways.
Always.
You know what I mean? And it's good to hear. It's good to know that
Hmm.
you have that support. And it's
Yeah,
great.
and I try to explain sometimes to people that are younger than me that don't have kids and are in the business that don't have a wife. They're just wrestlers, and they have all the time in the world, to be able to go all around the world, to do what they do. And I always try to let them know the best way possible that when you have a family and you have kids, that's the main priority. You cannot always think that being, how could I say, like always basically saying that wrestling and laying your life down on the line like that every single time is not going to be the main priority. And if you're going to do it, make sure you do it for the right reasons, and it's to feed your family and make sure they have a roof over their heads. I always try to let all the young talent know stuff like that, man. But speaking to what you were saying, right? My last words to Noriega is, what was it to say? The quote: "One, two, Freddy's coming for you, but this time Sunset's coming for you, and it ain't gonna be pretty. It ain't. I'm gonna show you exactly what used to happen back in the day. You're gonna see exactly, because after that, it's straight to the top. After September 16th, once I'm done with Fly Night Noriega, I'm looking forward to reach the top of my game. I'm looking forward to be bigger than I ever thought I can possibly be and just get even bigger. Because, like Big E said it best, if you're not in this game to get to the top, to be at the top, to be number one, you don't deserve to be here. And that's one thing that I got also in a message for Fly Night Noriega. If you're not going to step foot in that ring to fight and step foot and be on top, then you don't deserve to be here. Not at all. It's the same grit I had in the streets. It's the same grit I have in the ring. And that's the same grit I'm going to continue having for the rest of my career. I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to be the best I can possibly be after September 16th and counting. I know it sounds a little, I don't mean to sound this way, but it's the truth. Everybody should have that heart in them to want to be up here, not there, not stay neutral, here, up here to the very top. You could get them at the door, 662 Co Ave, East Haven, Connecticut. You can definitely just walk up, get them at the door, or I think they're on Eventbrite.com as well. So I think it's Empire Pro Wrestling Hot Shot. If it's not on Eventbrite, then you can definitely get the tickets at the door. So yeah, I think doors are opening. I think the show starts at 7. I think, I'm not sure, but it's right on the card, anyways. But yeah, you could just walk up to the door and buy tickets there. Yeah, just go to Empire Pro Wrestling and you drive there, walk up to the door, get your ticket. Definitely, man. Definitely, man. And that's good because it is gonna be a fight. I'm telling you, man. You can only take so much, you know. Only take so much from someone, and that's it, man. Like, I didn't want to do it because I'm not the type of person to put my hands on friends or family, brothers. That's not what I do. I don't like to. I don't like to fight my people that I love because you never know when it's your last day. You never know when is the last time you're gonna wake up. So this is why I understand why he's doing it, man. We're supposed to love each other, man. We're supposed to have love. We're supposed to be brothers. And for you to have this vendetta, this hate, like hate that you love or love that you hate, I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. but he really needs to stop, man. He really needs to understand that the doors are open. And I don't know what message he wants to prove, but I'm proving to him that the doors are going to be open even after I will. Even after September 16th, I'm that type of person that's still gonna have that heart and that door open for him. Either he takes it or he don't. That's up to him. Definitely, man. I can't wait either, bro. I can't wait. I definitely can't wait for BCW. So let me know as soon as it starts up. Let me know. All right, brother, man. Thank you. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Students as well, and he's been wrestling here and there. Folks, we're here live, kicking it live with BCW. We're honored to have two great guests on here with us today. We're gonna be just talking along. We're gonna be just conversating and kicking it back, just like the title says. We're kicking it live, so we're just all just having a relaxing conversation between all three of us. Today we have two other guests. We have Buldred and we have Gemma. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Go ahead.
Nice to
felt
meet
like
you.
I haven't seen you forever.
Nice to meet you, Gemma.
Nice to meet you.
And Jared,
Gemma had a
it's
great
awesome to see
weekend.
you again, my brother.
Yeah, you too, man. I can't wait for the next show. I know stuff has been going crazy and stuff, and I know you got the school ready. Hopefully, you'll be ready to go and start running. And until I got myself out there again, I didn't know how much, how well I'm known. But it was nice, that first show with a lot of familiar faces and new faces, and consider you a brother now.
I consider you a brother to BCW. Consider you part of us as well.
But this is your first time meeting.
When I first met Bull, it was at our show, Dawn of a New Era. It was a great show, and it was a pleasure having Bull Dread there with us. He was like a leader in the back in the locker room, and he got along great with all the other wrestlers, and all my other wrestlers got along great with him. And he had a great showings, and it was a great show. I mean, it was an honor having you at our first show at Dawn of a New Era. Hopefully, Gemma will have you soon as well.
Yeah, hopefully, in the future. She's been with me for the past year, and I've been giving her, having her come with me wherever. Where some promoters are like, but I'm only asking promoters that would allow it because the understanding. Because I want her to tell her story of why. I want her story to get out there, and it'll help anybody else in the future of who has a dream and anybody that's gonna try to kill their dream. There's always one person try to kill somebody's dream, and I want her to tell her side of what's happened to her and how she has been able to get out there in the past year and a half of being in this business of just it's at such a young age, and she has a hell of a head start than most. I didn't start in this business till I was 26, and I just turned 47, and she's 13. So, and I want her to get experience, and sometimes it's like I want her to be there with me, and so I'm able to help her and guide her, and I think BCW would be a good home for her also. The locker room, like you said, was humble and very respectful. A lot of young guys, and other than Dan the Man, me and him were the only guys that are in our 40s and in that locker room. So yeah, hopefully in the future soon. But I want Jem to tell her story.
All right.
Then we'll get into mine.
Okay.
Go ahead, Gemma. Go ahead. The floor is yours. It's all about you right now. Tell me.
Okay. All right. So, I was in 6th grade, and I had a teacher tell me that, oh, hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit. So, I was doing a job report on what I wanted to be when I, to grow up. And so, basically, I had a teacher tell me that that wrestling was not a realistic job. And so we went to the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame to support my my mentor, Rita Marie. And she told Mari Mancini my story, and they got me on a show.
And that was the first show that we met.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
If you, Lou, if you don't remember who Rita Marie is, she was the first woman WWF referee back in like the mid '80s, and she lives in the upstate New York, and it's just weird. Like when I first met Gemma and her parents, they were outside. I think Gemma, wasn't Mom doing something with your hair?
Yes. Yes, she was putting oh my god, she was putting pink flakes in my hair, and I was telling her, no, I don't want that. And you pulled in the parking lot.
Yeah, I pulled in, and I was listening to maybe my entrance song. I don't remember. I was listening to Black Label Society, and I think Kyle said something to me. I don't remember exactly, but he was like, "Hey, he recognized the song," and we just started talking really quick, and I introduced myself, and we then went inside.
Yep.
Next thing you know, Gemma's escorting me down to the ring in our match, and that's where it all began. That's
right.
Pretty much where our friendship and like you said, like me kind of took her under my wing and mentoring for the past year. And not only that, but it just feels like we're family.
Yes.
And, and that's, and any advice that I would give you, Lou, or give, your kids or Gemma or my kids or a stranger or fans, anybody that wants to get into the business, I do the same for everybody. And I kind of feel like a father, it's like a big brother, but more like a father figure too,
Yes.
Yeah. So she's been with me ever since. I don't think she's going to be able to get rid of me now. So.
I don't think so either, Bo.
Nope. You're my dread.
Yeah, I'm her dread.
How did it
Nobody
feel
else
to go beyond that curtain with him, though, Gemma? How did it feel to go through that entrance with Bo Dread, and how did it feel being that first time?
It was different. It's definitely something I have never done before at that time. And I was, to be honest, I was very starstruck. I kind of just stood there, and to be honest, my knees were shaking the whole time. Because
you never told me that. You never told me you were starstruck.
I was, because it was my first time next to a ring. So.
Right. Yeah, I mean, like, and Lou. I'm sure, like, because we kind of look back, and you know, we don't like, you know, we one of the most important things in this business is like, don't forget where you come from. Like, and we were all kids at one point. I mean, we're old. I mean, like Lou, you and I are older now, but we were all once kids, you know, enjoying this business and the way we looked at it. So I kind of like understand what Jem was saying, because if I was 13 years old and seeing these wrestlers, because my father used to take me to local shows in Waterbury, you know, at Wilby High School, Crosby High School, Kennedy, etc. And I remember seeing, like, I could swear I saw Andre the Giant, I saw Rocky Johnson and some other people, but you know, fast forward 30 plus years later, I've main evented in those same high schools now. So, but what I'm trying to say is, like, we never forget that how a child feels when they're, you know, ringside, or when you're in the ring, because they look up to us as superstars. And I really tell everybody, I'm no superstar. I appreciate it. I'm just an Italian kid that just wanted to be a wrestler. So it's like with Gemma, you know, she's a kid who wants to be a wrestler, or has a dream of, you know, pursuing that and being a WWE superstar. So it's like, why have somebody kill your dream and tell somebody they can't do something in life? You know, I mean, I've had people tell me that even to this day, even my parents, you know, wrestling this and that. And if I had listened to the people that told me that I couldn't be a wrestler, I honestly don't know what I would have done with my life, because it's pretty much established who I am. I'm not going to say as a person, but it's what you do as a person that you bring to the business and to the character, and that's what's more important. So, if anything you've learned from this is, you don't. There's always going to be somebody that's envious because they didn't follow their dream. Right? You know, I mean, I'm sure you've heard it. You know, oh, you can't run a wrestling company. You know, how many times have you heard that?
Still am, my brother. Still am.
Yeah, it's a business. It's tough. You know, believe me, I understand. I've seen it all. But I'm at a point in my life and career now where it's like, I'm just going out there working where I can and having fun. This is supposed to be fun.
Yes.
Wrestling is fun, you know. With me, it was the other way. I started off as I wanted to start training myself, but my doctor never cleared me, and I wanted to stay within the business. So I was like, you know what? My son actually wrestles for BCW. He's one of my students. On that day, he didn't wrestle that day, but he was security that day. Jose Ramos, the young kid,
if I see his face, I'll remember.
That
you know,
day
I met a lot of new faces. I mean, I didn't know your son was there. I mean, I met a lot of new faces there, and that's the great thing about this business, is because, like I said, I got myself out there, and you start meeting new people, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember you when I was a kid, and I'm like, now you're making me feel old. But you know, I think what's important is how you treat new people. You know, it's the impression you leave on someone that you just met. That's why it's very important. Like I told Emma, it's very important when you get to somewhere new, a new building, new talent, people that you've never met before. It's very important you go up and introduce yourself to everybody that's there, from people that are carrying the ring crew, working behind concessions, because you never know. Like, I went up and introduced myself to Eric, and that was the first time I met him, and I didn't realize that was Eric when he was inside the ring.
Yeah,
So, I'm sorry.
To shake everyone's hands whenever there's a new locker room I go to.
But no matter what, every locker room you shake your hand. You shake their hand. You go up and say hello, and because it's family, pretty much. You know, you never know who you meet at any given time, any given day. You could be talking to the promoter, and he could be, you know, dressed up in, you know, crappy clothes, and he was helping with the ring, and
yeah,
because it does come back to haunt you at some point, right, Lou?
Definitely does. It definitely does. You know, and in BCW we have another one that was her first time in front of the audience like that was the manager of BD Cruz. She's about the same age as Gemma.
Oh yeah, I do remember. Yes.
Yeah,
That's cool.
she was.
I would
She's
love
the
to.
flower girl, BD Cruz here in this when he comes and wrestles for BCW. She's a flower girl.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember.
They're about the same age and and she was excited too. So I was able to see everything in a different point of view, and it was awesome to see the your your age, trying to get into the business at this young age, and here comes Bull Dre, trying to help the new generation coming into the industry, knowing how hard this industry can be. And either or, being a promoter or being a booker or being a wrestler, it could be hard, especially in this area where independent wrestling is getting to be known in a way where it's growing.
Well,
And
how long have you been involved?
how long have I been involved?
Yeah.
About 2 years.
Okay.
Because I wanted to be in the ring, but I wasn't cleared.
Right.
So I was like, I still want to be in the industry. I've always been my thing. I've loved being in the industry. Going to the shows and all that. And my first show was at the Mass Mutual Center, when it was known as Civic Center. Remember Bull Dread?
Civic Center, where?
In Springfield. When it was known, where the Mass Mutual Center is now known, it was known as the Civic Center.
See,
okay.
I don't remember because I've never really done much in Mass.
Okay.
But I mean, what's the name of it now?
What was that? I'm sorry.
What's the name of it now?
It was the Mass Mutual Center in Springfield.
Oh, okay.
It's in the downtown, the big Mass Mutual Center. Back in the day, it was known as the Civic Center.
Okay. Because we had a Civic Center here in Connecticut.
I think this is way back before Gemma, too, so it's kind of making me feel kind of old, too, so it's okay, though.
Well, I mean, because we had we had the Hartford Civic Center in Connecticut, which is now the Xfinity, so.
I actually have performed there before for dance before I got into wrestling.
See, so she is performed in front of an audience, just something different, obviously. Well, if you think about it, wrestling is pretty much dancing.
Yeah, there's a lot of choreographing and some improv sometimes.
Well, the point I was trying to get to is, like, even you said it's been 2 years that you've been involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's the business has evolved and changed because for me, like you said about a lot of independent wrestling that's out there, if you can rewind about 10 years ago, we didn't have what it is right now. All this local talent, all these local companies running, some of them were starting to start. A couple of them, there's a couple still around, I believe, but that, rewind 15 years. That makes it's when I think about it, it makes me envious in some ways because I didn't have the opportunities that a lot of the guys have now, a lot of more exposure. But I try to, I remind myself that a lot of what the young generation now will never experience what I have, though I won't experience what they have, what they're experiencing now. So, like, if I've been in the ring with the majority of all my childhood heroes, from, sharing the locker room to the ring to, like, Flair, Piper,
wow,
Hogan, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, you name them, I pretty much either worked with them, shared the locker room with them. I've been in, shared a ring with Roddy Piper and have dinner with them, even the Hardy Boys, a lot of the guys that are on TV now, like Cedric Alexander, I've wrestled him. Hangman Page, I had a match with him. The business is evolving. That's pretty much the point I'm getting to. But it's evolved so much that, like I said, there's more opportunity now, exposure, especially with AEW, with the internet. And but the thing with that is that sometimes popularity and fame could come really fast, and a lot of us old timers could get bitter because we're still doing the same things that we did when we first started. But I try not to think about that too much because now I'm trying to give back to the business, to the young generation, for say somebody like Gemma, and the locker room for BCW. Especially like when I said to everybody, listen, if you want me to watch your match and critique it, I'll watch it. You know how many people ask me? 2 people. And I mean, like, okay, I'm not a great wrestler. I'm never claimed to be great or anything like that. I just studied the business. I studied how to tell a story. And the better story you tell, the less you got to wrestle. That means save your body. And the crowd goes home happy. Right, Gemma?
Right.
I mean, isn't that what's important, Lou?
It is. It's very important, especially storytelling. The storytelling is it's what started the wrestling back in the day, and it kind of got away from that. But I want to, as like I'm one of the type of people that want to bring all that back into the storytelling of the performance of the shows. It's like
Yeah.
when you wrestled Jay Royce, there was a story told in between all that, and it was for him being new. He was one of my students. He's been one of our BCW students as well, and he's been wrestling here and there. But for you to wrestle Jordan or it's beat Jay Royce, I mean, it was a good match. There was a couple those things. What happens, but there was a good match.
I had to lead him. He met a couple spots messed up. I mean, I wrestled Gangrel and I messed up a couple spots. I didn't. It's about the experience I have is that I can think of my feet. I'm not great, but I know how to put together a match where I could tell a story where I don't have to do a lot. And I'll try like even Saturday night. We had the 4-way the 4-man, and I was like, how can we incorporate Gemma and Foxy? And before we even everybody was there, some of us were already on the same page. And it's like we got people on the outside. How do we let's get them incorporated into the story, and that's what happened. I mean, Gemma. I mean, the crowd was hot. I mean, I'm surprised that they stayed through the whole thing because it wasn't a 5.5 hour show. They went 2.5 hours, and we were main event. And as much as I complain about main eventing, I enjoy it. But the crowd was into everything, and because we told a great story, it was physical, but we told a great story.
Right.
That's what's important, old school. And like you said, Lou, that's what's missing today. It's funny how people complain about WWE and what they do, but WWE is the ones that tell the story.
Yeah, it is. There's stories now, just like looking now with the tribal chief. That's an awesome story that's being told.
Yeah, and he's over. And
Definitely.
if you want to have a long career, learn how to tell a story because they're the ones that make the most money. I mean, how many times are you gonna, you can watch a Ring of Honor match or an AEW match sometimes, and sometimes the things don't make sense, and I'm like, I find myself cringing, like, why the hell are they doing that? That's why I don't watch wrestling. I don't like. I'm not saying I don't watch it, like, period. I do watch it here and there, and like what's going on, and try to keep up to date, but I honestly watch a lot of old school stuff. I watch a lot of the stuff I grew up on still, because to me that was entertaining. And people, complain about wrestling. It's entertainment now, but at the end of the day, isn't that what wrestling is?
It
Like
is.
I'm sure.
Even back in
Go ahead.
even as you can see, even back in the day, like the Ultimate Warrior versus the Hulk Hogan, or the Macho Man versus Ricky Steamboat, and all these matches that we still remember to this day, and even now, I mean, there's John Cena, right? With John Cena's um, the Rocks. We all know the Rock is, in these matches right now. They, like you mentioned, it tells a story. which to this day we still remember them. It could be 20, 30 years old, but we still remember them.
Yeah,
And that's
and a lot of it's starting to come back, like people refer to it. And I tell Gemma all the time, like, Lou, do you remember Precious? They used to come out with Jimmy Garvin. Can you hear me,
I could hear
Lou?
you.
You can hear me?
I could hear you.
Oh, okay. So you were stalled there. I couldn't the screen you. Do you remember Precious from that used to come out with Jimmy Garvin back in the world class days?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that's to me. That's when I saw Gemma. That's I saw Precious. She used to spray his hair with the hairspray and stuff. But I also said you got to watch. You have to watch not just female managers. You have to watch some of the best managers like Bobby Heenan,
Oh yeah.
Jimmy Hart. Like when you're on the outside, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you think about it, I mean, man or woman, they're pretty much a cheerleader for their wrestler. You know what I mean? But the crowd will follow whatever they're doing, even just as important as the referee and just as important as the talent that's in the ring performing. They're all part of the show. I mean, it's everything because a good worker could be a good manager. A good manager is a good worker, and the referee's part of the deal too. It's all full circle. That's why sometimes when people start training, the first things they start doing is they start as a referee. It's a performance. Like Gemma, who do you watch? Who's your favorite? Uh, I'm not gonna. What? Who's your favorite? You could be a manager. Who's your favorite manager? Who's your favorite wrestler?
Right. So my favorite wrestler for the longest time has been AJ Lee, and then my favorite manager is probably Jim Cornette.
Now that's awesome. What about you, Luke?
I thought Gemma was gonna say Paul Heyman. But Jim Cornette, that's not that. Manager wise, I think for me one of the best managers was Mr. Fuji.
Another great, yeah.
And even Lita when she was managing the Hardy Boys, and there was some great managers, and it's always nice to see that it's coming back and it's coming back, because there was a point where managers no longer exist to a degree. And now that we see them coming back, like I mentioned, Paul Heyman, he's an awesome person. Like he's an awesome manager. He's more than a manager, we all know that, but it's just he brings in that personality. He brings in that storyline. Just he doesn't wrestle, but is the way he speaks, the way he does things on the mic. It's we can see is very important as well.
He could draw people in just by talking.
Yeah. Right.
One of my favorite women managers was Sensational Sherry.
Yes.
But she was also a good wrestler too.
Yes. Yeah.
And you've been brushing up on your history. I can tell.
What about Luna?
Luna, yeah. I liked her. Luna was weird. Like, I don't know. I liked her more as a wrestler, but she scared me. Like, I don't know if I would want to mess with her. You know what I mean? Luna, everybody likes Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah.
But Miss Elizabeth really never did anything. I think she seemed more as a prop than, like, being involved with stuff. If do you remember that, Lou? Lou, how old are you? Like 35, 36? I'm older than you.
Nah, I'm not. I'm much more than you think I am.
Serious?
Yeah. I go back.
41, 42?
Yeah, about.
Okay. but I am older than you. So, but we pretty much grew up on the same era.
We did.
Yeah.
We definitely did.
You know, but like some of the greats, like you know, when you think about it, like in the '80s, you know, J.J. Dillon, like a lot of them knew how to talk, but they were also good wrestlers.
Yeah.
And my favorite wrestler,
like
I think everybody should know. I think everybody should know who my favorite wrestler was or is. I incorporate it into my everyday life. Come on, Gemma, you should know this. Is Mom right there? I'm sure she knows.
Woo!
Yes. See what I mean?
Yeah,
Ric
Mom is.
Flair. And here's another, like, you know, how great. You know, I grew up, like I said, watching Ric Flair. I mimicked him and stuff. And once I started doing the Sexy Beast, I started incorporating a lot of. I used to copy Flair. You know, from the strut to the woo, but you know, like when you watch a lot of that old stuff, you incorporate that stuff in your character and your movements, but you take a little piece of everybody. So you know, it's nice. Like Gemma, it's nice to study one certain person, but there's so many greats out there. You take a little bit of everybody, but you make it your own. It's like, you know, especially like copying a recipe. Like you're gonna follow the recipe, you know, step by step, but you're gonna tweak things here and there because you want to do it to your liking, and it comes out different, but it's the same thing. Okay, like I said with Flair, and like, you know, I grew up watching Flair, and next thing you know, I'm wrestling. You know, I'm working with his son. I've, you know, done shows with Northeast Wrestling. You know, 2 nights in a row with him headlining. I'm standing next to him talking in the locker room. So,
Wow.
Dreams come true. You know, so no matter how successful you are, it doesn't matter if you're on TV every Monday night. You know, like I said, I'm doing this a lot longer than you, Lou, and you know, Gemma. Like I said, it's you know, just starting. Mm-hmm. Success is doing what you love, and I'm still doing what I love at any level that you're doing it at. I might be at the independent level, but Gemma, Saturday night, you tell me, in that crowd, didn't they like treat me like I'm some type of superstar?
They did, yes.
Yeah. I appreciate it, believe me. You know, I feel like a little kid, and you know, I'll talk about it and stuff. But you know, it wasn't until the fans started calling me a legend that I started referring to myself as that. I don't even look at myself as that. It makes me feel old. But I feel it's more important. It's more of the person than the character, because it's the person that makes the character.
Right.
You never did, Lou. Who's your favorite wrestler?
Who's my favorite wrestler?
Yeah.
It's kind of controversy right now because as a wrestler, I think he was awesome, but as a human being, we all know the situation.
Chris Benoit.
As a wrestler, Benoit.
You know, I was just talking about this with somebody. You know, you can't discredit what he's done in the business and who he was, you know. But people, the only things in life you control are the choices you make. You know what I mean? And he chose to take steroids and do all that, whatever. But, you know, people go crazy. I mean, but it shouldn't discredit what he's done in the business and in the ring. You know what I mean? Because I'll still tell people, like Gemma, if Gemma were to start training right now, I'd be like, watch people like Bret Hart. Watch the intensity of Chris Benoit. You have to watch how they are in the ring if you want to get better.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I mean, somebody could have a great work ethic out at their job, but be a shitty person when they come home because they're miserable. You know what I mean? But I understand why you're saying it's controversial. You know, I mean, especially at that level, you can't discredit what he's done in the ring. You know, it's like trying to discredit Jake the Snake Roberts. You know, and what he did in the ring, but how he is in real life, and what he did in the demons that he has. Everybody has demons. You know, it's how you control them. But You know, so
Yeah, I'm not discrediting him in the ring because we all know he was an awesome wrestler. We all know the situation afterwards, but as a wrestler, I mean, the radicals or the four horsemen. He was involved in all that. As a wrestler, he's awesome. He's one of the greats for me. But a human being, we all know the situation. That's why I say it's controversial in a sense. Uh, but I mean, even Eddie Guerrero, they all had their struggles. They all had their demons, and that's one thing about this industry where we all are human beings to a degree. But we all human beings, and we all have our demons in a sense, and it's all about working through them and bringing that character out, bringing that person out, and making it stand above the rest in a sense. And that's what I've known and what I've learned throughout all these years. I mean, all these years seeing all these characters and their struggles and the consequences of living their lives in a certain way. You know,
yeah, I mean, like if you had met me 10 years ago, I mean, I'm the same person, yes, but definitely evolved. And like I said, 10 years ago, I was a depressed shell of myself. Just coming, getting divorced. I was separated, and I was way over 300, about 320 pounds at the time. I got really, that was big. And self-conscious. I was in pain every day, and I was like saying to myself, wow, I don't know if I could do this anymore. But one of the things that saved me was, I'm not gonna say wrestling saved me because it was still something I was still something I was doing to keep my mind occupied, to take my mind off of the depression I was in. But like you said, it's how you live your life. And I've, when you're depressed, you're lonely. You ever been like in a room full of 100 people, but still feel lonely?
Yes.
The question's for both of you.
Yes, I have.
Yeah. So you from there, it forces you to become your own best friend. You have to start doing the things you love to keep your mind occupied, and your mind occupied makes you it keeps you going. So and it was really hard as a parent. I think it's harder for parents because you have to hide that depression from your kids. And once the kids are gone, you're back at their at their the other parent, the mom's house. For me, like Jamie's house, I'm right back to where I was. Like I had to hide who I was because I was depressed. But I think it was once I found out I was type 2 diabetic, it went, it changed my life pretty much. And I started losing weight and stuff. And Mike Lombardi was like, he wanted to change my gimmick to the sexy beast and wanted me to do an Italian Hugh Hefner. And I was like, how the hell am I going to do this? And I was nervous as hell. And little by little, I just started kind of copying Ric Flair. And what I just started doing was just started being myself. Not a care in the world. Blurring the lines of being sexy and, sexual innuendos and things I said and things I did, et cetera, et cetera. It may have hurt me a little bit in the long run, but at the time, looking back, I'm like, yeah, I know, maybe that was stupid, but whatever. I forgot where I was going with this. Oh, we evolve. You have to be able to kind of look back and put yourself in those shoes again. Like if you ever see a meme or a quote, it brings you back to a time where it brings you back to a time where like what you were going through in that one point of your life, and what was going through your mind at that time of your life. And you kind of look back and you kind of be like, you got to be thankful for that because it built you up to where you are today. So like say, I'm sure Lou, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You have a child. I mean, are you married? Are you divorced, or are you still married?
I am married.
Okay. I'm sure you've had troubles in your marriage. I mean, it's not, yeah, But what's very important in that is friendship. Love and respect for each other, and a lot of people lose that. But the main thing that's important is friendship, and the friendship comes with respect for each other and knowing what people feel. And Gemma, like in the same thing with you, it's like you'll be able to look back to what your teacher said to you, 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and how you use that to be where you are now. So in other words, you have to be thankful because you could have taken that advice and be like, hey, wrestling's not real. It's not a real job. You could have just let it go. But no, it bothered you. And it came full circle because look where you are now.
Yes. Yeah. All I remember is I came off that bus that day red in the face because I was so mad.
Right. And it's good to have connections also, but where did I start? I forgot where I was going with this, but yeah, pretty much you evolved, and to me, how I changed as a person is I'm just comfortable in who I am as a person, inside and out. You got to be one with your heart, mind, and soul. That to be happy, and I brought that to the business. I feel like to be a genuine person because there's a lot of pricks in this business. There's a lot of assholes. They're in this business for sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's not any different than rock and roll in the music industry. You know what I mean? People just they get in the ring and they think they train a month and they think they call themselves wrestlers. I mean, 22 years later, I'm still learning.
But this is an industry that we will continue to learn every single day. I don't
Yeah.
think that like if we don't learn, that means we're not doing something right. Even myself being in the industry but I started off, I wanted to become a wrestler, but I can say that wrestling actually saved my life. And because when my son started training with Eric Rosa, I wanted to start training, but my doctor wouldn't clear me. He wouldn't clear me. Not well because once it was because of one of them because it was because of my weight as well. But I was going through a lot of medical conditions where I wasn't able to get through and I wasn't able to get cleared. But that was about a year, maybe a year and some change, or maybe a year and a couple months ago, where I was over 420 pounds because of depression, because of medication, because of my medical, because of health, and when I decided to go into the ring, when I decided to get back in, and I took what the doctor told me as motivation, he said, I'm not going to clear you. I took it as motivation. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make the doctor clear me. I'm going to make the doctor clear me. And I was like, I still have a little ways to go, but from a year and a half ago, I've lost over 150 pounds.
God bless you. Woo!
I could say that too, and I'm going to be back in the ring. I'm going to start training. I'm going to be in the ring. I'm going to be running the ropes, even though I can't really do it in front of other people, but I could do it, and behind the scenes. And
listen,
and
I will do it with
to a
you.
degree. It'd be like Vince McMahon, at his age where he was still in the ring bumping.
Lou, listen, I will do it with you. Like once the school opens, let's talk about the school in BCW. What do you got coming up?
Yes.
We're still working on the school because we're still remodeling our facilities.
Yeah.
We got the facility. It's just there was a lot of more work than we thought that we had to put into it. And it's a big place, but like I said, it still needs a little bit more to go. But we're almost there, we're definitely almost there. Hopefully, by the end of, we're looking maybe to November, sooner than that, to actually open the school. Maybe like November, December, to open the school itself. But we're still looking to go out and do another show because we still have to do part 2 of Dawn of the Era. Over there, we still have to do all the rest of the matches that we planned, but life got in the way. But we're now, we have to hit back. Just like that old cliche saying, the harder that life hits you, you have to hit it harder.
Well, listen, Lou, I mean, from experience, your health comes first. You got to take care of yourself and your priorities first. That always comes first. And I talk about this a lot. I'm like, you ever, all you guys watch like Dark Side of the Ring? at all
I have.
on Vice. And I'm saying to myself, people are always focusing on all the negative and all of that stuff on that level of the business and the dark side of the ring. Why don't they do documentaries on people that like save guys like myself that at this level where I've raised a family, maintained a full-time job while pursuing a wrestling career all at once, and I'm like, why don't they talk about stuff like that? Follow people like that. Like, I feel like that those are true inspirations. Because at the end of the day, I've taken time away from the family. Like, I had shows every weekend at one point where I wasn't traveling a lot, but I pretty much had shows like at least 3 weekends out of the month where I wasn't home on a Saturday night. And while my kids were young, but no, my kids are older now. That's why I've gotten myself out there. And, my daughter's in college, and, Mikey comes with me to shows. And, I mean, Gemma and, Leah, I mean, Lou, you've met my son because he was at the BCW show. And now I'm bringing him around, not only because he has no choice now, but he could stay home if he wants to. And he sees what goes on behind the scenes. He sees what goes on, what we do and the preparation that goes in. And if there's one thing that I want to leave, in my legacy is if you could describe me in one word in my legacy, I hope people see passion. I hope that's what people feel and see, because I've had passion for what I do, and that's everything I do in life, including my livelihood and being a father, being a friend, and being a mentor now. And I think that's what everybody needs to work on. Like, I feel like I'm light years ahead of many people because I'm working on my legacy now. And people live all their lives not following their dream, and because they listen to other people. So, like Lou, for you and Gemma, and Lou, if you use what the doctor's telling you as motivation, I mean, he's going to tell you that you can't never wrestle because you just can't do it. It sticks in your head because you can't unsay words. You can't unhear it. I mean, he's not you. He's telling you to get healthy, but don't have him tell you can't be in the ring. That's only you. That decision should only be you. And with Gemma, it's like, don't let one person discredit your dream.
Right.
If that's what you want to do in your life, you have to go about that in your everyday life also, in everything you do, no matter if it's studying, your job. Because what if you have, your dream of a goal of becoming a WWE superstar and you never make it? Like, what do you do? How do you handle that? Yeah. What if your dream is to make it to WWE and you work so hard, all this preparation, you put all this work in, and the call never comes? What do you do?
I'm sorry, you dropped out for a second.
Did you hear what I said or no?
I heard partially. You asked me what would I do if I've worked my way up to the WWE but don't make it.
If you put this work in preparation, training every day, working on your character, and the call never comes, like, what do you do?
I would keep learning and training and keep working and working until I do get that call, and I'll still do shows and stuff because wrestling is what I want to do, and even if I don't make it to the big leagues, I still want to be a wrestler, and that is that.
I guess I've taught you well.
So, Gemma, how does it feel to have Bull Dread as a mentor?
It feels good. I've learned a lot, especially from 2 years ago to now. the whole journey, and I'm happy that he's on the journey with me, and I'm lucky to have him.
The journey is the gift. You know, the result is what comes after. You know, the journey is truly the gift, and that's just in life. You know, and on my spin on it, I think, you know, wrestling relates a lot to life. You know, it's you get what you put in. If you're not putting the work in, like for my where I am in my career right now, what I miss the most is, and it's funny how I thought about this, and I've talked about this before I actually heard it. But do you guys watch the Joe Rogan podcast at all?
No.
I've heard a couple episodes.
Okay. He had David Lee Roth on. I know, Lou, I know you know David Lee Roth. Gemma, do you know who David Lee Roth is? I know Mom knows.
Yes,
I
Mom.
know she's listening.
The rock star.
David Lee Roth was the lead singer of Van Halen. Okay?
Mm.
He was on the Joe Rogan show, and I was watching clips of it, and he said this. You could do a hell of a lot more in the getting ready than the actual show. And I said that. I miss the getting ready. I miss the three nights a week, 2 to 3 hours of training every night with everybody. I enjoyed that more than the Friday or Saturday night show that you only get 8 minutes to, showcase what you could do. And because you could go hours of training and have fun, and physically I can't do that anymore. And this is the God honest truth, I've probably not even put 1,000 professional matches in throughout my career, because I've put in maybe about 2,000 to 3,000 of training matches in, worth of bumps, and that's that work, and that's how I perfected. I'm not gonna say perfected, but that's where I got my work in, and where I learned and crafted what I do is through training, and that's what I miss the most. So Lou, when the time comes and you're going to put that work in, that's going to be the favorite part of what you're doing, the most fun that you're going to be able to do. And like Gemma, when you start training, you have to treat training like it's the actual show. The same intensity, the same passion, the same love, no matter if there's fans watching or not. And it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt, because I feel it today.
But you had a few great matches. Now I saw your great title, your great title win. How did that feel, my brother? Achieving that goal.
It feels good, and I appreciate it. I love it. I mean, it's nice to put out, the belt, to put a picture out on social media of like, yeah, I won a title, The recognition is awesome. Like I said in my speech, it's what this. If you're going to put a belt on somebody, it's not going to make the person.
Right.
It's what the person, the star, brings to the title to make the title prestigious. That's what's important, because what's his name? Roman Reigns, he has the title, but who's the most? If John Cena comes back, who's more popular?
It would be John Cena.
Sheamus could be the world champion, but John Cena is the most over guy in WWE.
Right.
So to me, it's like, the belt really don't mean much anymore. Well, anymore these days, this time, but it feels good. It feels good, because I have the torch for the company right now, and I want the company to succeed.
Right.
That's awesome. You know, it's yeah. I don't know. It was like I know they have great wrestlers in that company too, but I saw that I saw the Nightmare Spear, right? That's what you called it.
Yes. Yep. I'm calling it the Nightmare Spear. Yep. Lights
How
out,
did
baby.
that come about?
Well, I used to do the spear here and there, but it was Alex Rojas where he jokingly said, he goes, how do you do somebody else's move and do it better than them? And I hit Chris Battle with it, and he's like, you do it better than he does. So
Mm-hmm.
I used to have another finisher where I used to drop on my ass, and I used to call it the castrator. And I had to kind of stop doing it because of a decade of doing it, landing, taking ass bumps. It kind of messed up my tailbone where I'm not hurt or anything like that. It's just it's the wear and tear. So I started doing something else, but I'm not going to start doing the spear on the same show as somebody else. As they use it for a finisher. So I do it everywhere else now, and I didn't have a name for it until I was in Rhode Island, and he was like, the Nightmare Spear, and I'm like, there it is, right there. It's just weird how things just come about. Like I hashtagged myself Sexy Beast one day, and that's where the gimmick came up. I hashtagged myself the original Beast of New England. That's how it came out. The original Beast of Connecticut, and that's how that started. The Hardcore Nightmare was what's his name, from Jerry Strauss, who does the commentating for Northeast Wrestling. He called me that on one of the shows that I wrestled in Poughkeepsie, New York, and that was over 10 years ago when he called me that, and I'm like, oh, Hardcore Nightmare. He also called me the Hardcore Bulldozer, but the Hardcore Nightmare is kind of sounds better. So you go with what sounds good. You guys see me move because my screen is frozen.
I could see you move.
Okay, I can't see you guys move.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but we're doing. It's still being recorded, so we're good.
Yeah, we good.
Like you mentioned, a lot of the finishers that they tend to take a toll on you.
Yes.
And I've seen a lot of wrestlers, like even back in the day, like Hogan with a leg drop, Hardy with a leg drop, even the damage with the headbutt, the fine headbutt, or the concussions. I mean, these are all things that that the seriousness comes into playing with it, because as wrestlers we still get hurt, and that's where the realness comes into play.
Yeah, I mean, like I was even at work today. I was kind of like my knees were throbbing, and my legs and my hips. And one of the guys was like, "Yeah, well, I mean, isn't it scripted?" I go, "It's still physical." And he goes, "Oh, you got your ass beat." And I'm like, "Well, I took a couple big bumps. I had the Boss Man Slam. I got the British Bulldog Power Slam, and I was like, it felt good because the harder you hit, the less you feel. But it doesn't mean my joints and the muscle and everything. It doesn't ache later. What kills me more sometimes is the drive, because you're sitting in the car for an hour, hour and a half, or 2 hours, and your body stiffens up. That's why as we get older, and you see people that are retired or they're always moving, they're always doing something, because if you sit home, you feel worse. So I have to keep myself moving. That's how I keep myself motivated. When I'm hurting, I remind myself how good I feel after I do my workout. That's why I go to the gym, because I know I'm going to come home and I'm going to feel like crap. But like you said, I mean, I don't have any serious injuries. Just the wears and tears of everything. And sometimes, do you ever watch the documentary, the Bret Hart documentary, Behind the Shadows? I think that's what, Wrestling with Shadows.
Yeah, the Bret Hart documentary, yeah.
He says there's a part in the documentary where he says, he can't wait till he's done and finished in the business. And that stuck with me because I actually said that at one point, where I can't wait where I'm done and where I don't have to worry about, the pain and, the anxiety of going to a show, or what am I going to do in the match and this and that, the bullshit they have to deal, and the politics of the business and the people. But I know I'm going to miss it because it's been pretty much, almost half my life. That's 27, 47. I'll be celebrating 22 years in January.
That's a long career, man. That's a long.
Yeah.
You've seen the industry about 20 years ago, and the difference now from 20 years ago, and it has to be some quite of a history, though. I can't imagine how, like, when you first started, now seeing the difference, like you stated before, where you see it's a huge difference. Where back in the day it was more about storytelling. Now it isn't so much, but now it's coming back into. It's turning around again into the storytelling, and I could see that. I just think about all that, and how great it has become, and how has changed many lives. Because I remember
20 years
growing
ago.
Up. Go ahead.
20 years ago, it was less about talent and more about who you look. 20 years later is about what your talent is, and they don't care about how you look. You know what I mean? Like, whoever thought about, okay, she got reached. Okay, Leah was texting me saying that she got kicked off, but like I said, like now it's about they don't care about how you look; it's about your talent. And a lot of the stuff that goes on now that I see with some of the young guys wouldn't fly, I feel, 20 years ago. The things, some people's attitudes, how they talk, what they do, and how they carry themselves. Because the 90%, I would say maybe more than that, maybe about 100% of what's important in this business is how you carry yourself outside of the ring.
Yeah. I'm trying to put her back into the
Okay.
podcast, but it's not letting me for some odd reason. But
yeah, like my screen is totally frozen. Like I see myself move, but
it's still being recorded. I mean, it's been.
Yeah.
I apologize to Gemma because I can't seem to put her back into the podcast. It's not letting me. But it's great having you on here, and I apologize to Gemma. And we'll have you guys again on. Have you guys on again. As you can see, it's the signal went out. Thank you all for listening to us. This is BCW Kicking It Live with BCW. Y'all have a great day. Y'all have a good night, my brothers and family, and hope to hear y'all again, and hope to hear from you again. And next week we have Shotgun Adams on BCW, Kicking It Live with BCW. Have a great night, folks. Thank you all. Have a good night.